Want to hear a crazy fact that most parents never hear? Within the first year of life, your baby's brain will double in size and form over 1 million neural connections every single second, making this the most critical period for neurological development that they will ever experience. Yet conventional pediatric care focuses only on whether babies hit basic milestones within broad time frames, completely missing whether their nervous system is actually functioning optimally. But milestones are important, but let's start looking at them from a different perspective. Ready to get a little nerdy? So according to Harvard Center on the Developing Child, the first year of life represents when neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to grow and to change, or not, is at its peak. So one of the most rapid periods of brain development within the entire human lifespan. Now during this time, your baby's brain undergoes extraordinary neuroplasticity with peak synapse formation. During this time, your baby's brain undergoes extraordinary neuroplasticity with peak synapse formation, creating the fundamental architecture that will literally influence every aspect of their health for the rest of their life. Yet here's what's happening in pediatric offices across the country. Parents express concerns about feeding difficulties, about sleep issues, about excessive crying or developmental quirks, only to be told that these are normal, that it's common, or they're advised to be able to wait and see if their child outgrows them. Now this approach completely misses the critical window when neuroplasticity is at its peak and when gentle interventions can actually have the most impact. A baby can technically pass their developmental screening while compensating for underlying neurological dysfunction through tension patterns, through asymmetrical movement, or skip developmental stages that will impact them for years to come. Parents, let's talk about the hidden neurological significance of every early milestone. Baby's ability to breastfeed effectively is actually their first major neurological test. Now it's requiring coordination of multiple cranial nerves, of the upper neurospinal system, and the precise timing between the nervous system and neuromuscular coordination. And when we see feeding difficulties like a shallow latch, frequently popping off, or gasping during feeds, or even a baby who comes excessively exhausted while they're eating, these are often early signs that the nervous system needs significant support. Now, head control development between 8 and 12 weeks indicates proper cervical spine and deep neck muscle development, while challenges like persistent head turning to one side or plagiocephaly and torticollis and difficulty with tummy time can signal early neurological dysfunction. The most neurologically significant milestone is crawling between 7 and 10 months. Now, this establishes cross-crawl movement that stimulates balance development of what's called our corpus callosum, or a part of the brain that allows both sides of our brain to talk to each other. Now, this is building foundations for later skills like walking, like jumping and skipping and reading. So let's dive into the perfect storm that disrupts optimal development. Now there's multiple stressors that can accumulate and overwhelm a baby's developing nervous system, creating patterns of dysfunction that persist long after the initial stressors have passed. Prenatal stressors, including chronic stress during pregnancy that affects Prenatal stressors include chronic stress during pregnancy that affects fetal brain development, while interventions like Pitocin and inductions and epidurals, forceps vacuum and C-sections, as well as their positioning issues in utero, can place significant stress and pressure on baby's head and neck. Now there's big time environmental stressors after birth, like disrupted sleep patterns, overstimulation, early and often antibiotic exposure, and feeding challenges that continue to stress an already vulnerable nervous system, pushing these babies into sympathetic dominance where they get stuck in fight or flight mode. And this is how conventional medicine misses the neurological foundation. Your pediatrician might check off that your baby can roll over at 6 months, but they're not assessing whether that rolling movement is symmetrical, if it's coordinated, or built on proper neurological and foundational development. Now, conventional pediatric care consistently overlooks the assessment of subluxation and dysautonomia, the neurological interference and the imbalance that can develop from this perfect storm of stressors. Now, these functional problems rarely show up on standard tests, but can profoundly impact how well your baby eats, how well they sleep, how well they develop, and regulate their emotions and their behavior. So at Haven Family Chiropractic, we use the advanced insight scans to be able to objectively assess your baby's nervous system function through gentle, non-invasive scans that measure things like heart rate variability, their muscle tension patterns, and their body's temperature regulation. Now, these scans give us a clear picture of where stress and dysfunction exists within your baby's nervous system, showing balanced, symmetrical patterns in healthy infants or areas indicating stress that needs support. And rather than waiting for problems to develop, we take a preventative approach by supporting optimal nervous system function from the very beginning when that neuroplasticity is at its absolute peak. Now, if you sense in your mom or your dad gut that something isn't quite right with their feeding, with their sleeping, or their development, and you want to ensure as a parent that your child has the strongest possible neurological foundation from the very beginning, click the link in our bio to learn more about neurological development.